The latest lending figures from the Bureau of Statistics suggest that investors are starting to come back into the property market. To date, the revival in major markets around Australia, notably in Sydney and Melbourne, has been driven largely by owner-occupiers, including first-home buyers. But the latest lending figures show quite a strong uplift for the first time in quite a while of loans to property investors. And that suggests that investors are finally getting off the fence and starting to come back into the market after withdrawing for all sorts of reasons last year and in the early part of this year. Dissuaded by the high level of uncertainty that existed in property markets, the difficulty getting finance, the negativity around the lead up to the federal election, etc. But it appears that investors are coming back in. And according to research published recently by Property Investment Professionals of Australia, PIPA, Brisbane is top of mind for many investors, asking the question, where next, having clearly got the message that the booms in Sydney and Melbourne are over, notwithstanding the recent revival, and now looking for other places where they can buy a higher level of affordability and achieve better rental yields. Brisbane ticks a lot of boxes for people. The economy is getting stronger. Population figures are increasingly favouring South and East Queensland, particularly Brisbane. The level of infrastructure spending, which has been a big factor in driving the previous booms in Sydney and Melbourne, starting to pick up in Brisbane. There's some big multi-billion-dollar projects getting underway in Brisbane. So the stars are starting to fall into alignment for the Brisbane property market. And against that background, today we published our new edition of the Top 5 Brisbane Hotspots report. And I just want to touch tonight on one precinct in one of the chapters of that report, particularly like the precinct around the suburbs of Petrie-Lawnton in the northern suburbs of Brisbane. This is in the Moreton Bay local government area, up in the outer northern suburbs of Brisbane. These are suburbs that tick a lot of boxes because they offer affordability, they offer great infrastructure. They both these suburbs, Petrie and Lawnton, have stations on the train line connecting central Brisbane through northern Brisbane out to the Sunshine Coast and beyond. Great retail offering, lots of schools, all the basic infrastructure that individuals and families need. Lots of green spaces. There's a river winding its way through those suburbs, a couple of recreational lakes nearby. So good lifestyle elements as well as good basic infrastructure, schools, public transport, retail, etc. But the big kicker there, the game changer, is the new university campus, which is now well under construction. It's going to be a northern Brisbane campus of the University of the Sunshine Coast, and it's due to open for students at the beginning of next year. I drove past it about a week ago and it's well under construction. It's expected to be catering for 10,000 students within about 10 years and ultimately 20,000. It's been supported by both federal and state governments. It was named a priority development area in 2016 and ultimately will create around 6,000 jobs. So it's a big project, and I think universities can be tremendously influential on property markets in the suburbs in which they sit. They create a major employment node. They generate considerable economic activity. And of course, there's all those students hoping to find somewhere affordable close by to live. And the suburbs of this part of northern Brisbane certainly fit the bill in that regard. Moreton Bay region is the most active of the Brisbane property markets right now. It has, amongst its benefits, a high level of affordability. The many suburbs with median house prices still in the 300,000s. The two suburbs I'm focusing on here, Lawnton and Petrie, their median prices are in the low to mid 400,000s. Rental yields are pretty strong, 4.5% to 5.5% is common and typical. And unlike the generalised figures that would suggest that there's not much price growth happening anywhere in Brisbane, in this area we're seeing solid growth, not boom growth, but some suburbs have grown their median prices 7 or 8% in the last 12 months, but more common is 3, 4 and 5% growth in the median prices, well above average for what Brisbane generally is achieving in the last 12 months. So this area has high level of affordability, good rental yields. It's showing growth We think it's going to show more, underpinned by fairly low vacancies. There's 13 postcodes throughout this precinct, and all of them have vacancy rates under 3%, in most cases well under. Some are around about 1.5%, supporting a strong rental market and growing rentals, which underpins those yields I mentioned a moment ago. But particularly like amongst all the prospects in the Moreton Bay region in northern Brisbane, particularly like the suburbs of Lawnton and Petrie, because of their proximity to the new university campus, the fact that they've got stations on the train line and all that other infrastructure I referred to. So well worth considering, and it's one of the feature areas in the new edition of Top 5 Brisbane Hotspots that we published on the hotspotting.com.au website today. Just continuing the focus on Brisbane, on Tuesday 22 October around lunchtime, we'll be running another of our webinars. I'll be hosting a webinar titled Why You Should Buy, Not Sell in Brisbane, and my special guest will be Mark Shorrock of Bluestone Property Management based in Brisbane. So that's Tuesday 22nd of October around lunchtime. The exact time depends on which state you're in. So don't miss that one. We'll be talking about all the reasons why we think Brisbane has a lot to offer as a place for people to come and live and work, but also for property investors to focus on for affordable property, good rental yields, and it's also obviously the focus of the report we published today, the latest edition of Top 5 Brisbane Hotspots, featuring, amongst other things, the Lawnton Petrie precinct of the Moreton Bay region in the northern suburbs of Brisbane. That's it for now. Terry Ryder from Hotspotting signing off. Let's talk again soon.